Hi everyone, welcome to the World YWCA Day Google chat. World YWCA Day was actually yesterday, the 24th of April, and it's an event that we celebrate annually. So every year there's a different theme, and this year's theme was around creating a more inclusive world. And we thought this would also be a great opportunity for the World YWCA to launch our new blog page, which is called She Speaks. And you'll be able to go on and look at the latest trends, what's happening for young women and girls around the world. And we have our Young Women Champions Network, which is a global network of the different young women connected to the YWCA who are advocates in their communities, who are really leading change and running different programs and projects. And we're lucky enough to, at the World YWCA, to have some of these young women share their experiences with us by writing their blog, writing about the different events that they're doing and the different situations and challenges that they're facing in their daily lives, and also through their work with the World YWCA. So if you want to find out about what the YWCA is doing and hear the opinions of young women from our movement, then you have to check out our new blog, She Speaks. It's fantastic. We have a core team of around 17 young women from all around the world who are so enthusiastic and passionate about young women's rights, who are fighting and advocating to eliminate violence against women, child early and forced marriage, female genital mutilation, who are advocating for there to be comprehensive sexuality education in schools, for young women to have access to contraceptives and to choose and decide when, if, and how many children they want to have, even if they want to get married, and to decide who they want to marry. We blog around things around politics, women in politics, policies that affect directly the rights of women and girls. We talk about different jobs and opportunities and how to engage in further education. We have a great section on the blog site which is exclusively just for jobs and opportunities. So maybe you know someone who's looking for a job, then direct them towards the She Speaks blog site, because there's so much information there, and it's not just country specific, it's actually global. So we post jobs from different countries all around the world, and we also showcase different opportunities for scholarships for further education, and also opportunities to get engaged, more so in work experience and different internships. So as you can see, I'm very, very excited about our new blog site, and I'm super excited to introduce to you some of our core blog team and editors who are amazing. I'm going to start off with Divya, and I would like her to introduce herself. Please share with us what YWCA you're from and why you chose to get involved in the She Speaks project. Divya, over to you.
Well, hi everyone. My name is Divya Shastri, and I work with YWCA Nunavut, which is a part of the YWCA Canada movement. And I'm located in one of the northern Arctic territories of Canada. And, I was really excited about this blog because here, we don't always have the most stable internet connection, but, everybody does go out of their way to read the newspaper online, to go onto Facebook, to go onto Instagram. And I think that online activism is great for young women in our community to have a voice and still feel safe and not worry about how they're going to present their opinion and just say what they want to say. I think these online spaces are great for that. So I'm really excited to be a part of that and get other girls in the community on board with that.
That's fantastic. Thank you so much, Divya. And I'd now like to hand over to Kumi to introduce yourself too.
Hi, my name is Kumi, and I am from Malawi. The wonderful thing about this blog is that it has given Malawi an opportunity to really showcase the work that we do, on a larger scale. It brings people the ability to share their messages, so that everybody can see that Malawi is not just a country, but appreciate everybody's individual struggles and everybody's individual progress. And just it's an empowerment tool. I think it's a huge empowerment tool, and I'm just really excited to be a part of this, and to hear other people's experiences as well as share the experiences from the Malawian situation, so people can see how different and yet how similar everybody's experiences are, and get information that can help brainstorm and just come up with bigger ideas and just place value on women's lives.
Wow, that's really impressive, and I agree with you 100% that this really is an empowering platform and a tool. And I really hope that the people who are also watching this Google Hangout will embrace it and use it as a tool as well within your own work, because this really is a platform for any young woman and girl around the world.
Mm.
And now I'll go next to Lillian. Lillian, sorry, I think your microphone is muted. Sorry. Ah, okay. Can everyone hear Lillian okay?
I can't hear her.
Yeah, I
I
can't
can
hear
hear her.
her. No. Okay. I'll move. Lillian, we'll come back to you then. Can I ask Maureen if you'd like to introduce yourself? Are you still with us? Okay, we've lost Maureen. Hopefully she'll come back. Um, who? Barmy?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Hi. Can you please introduce yourself?
Okay. Hello, everyone. I am Balmi. I'm from Bangladesh, and now I'm working for the American Center for International Labour Solidarity. It is known as Solidarity Center, AFL-CIO, and I am involved in this blog, She Speaks, because in Bangladesh, you will find that many young women, they are they are really not much interested for blogging or for moving ahead, or even they do not want to get involved in women empowerment activities. But we really should move on. We really should do something good that that will be an good in that will be a good initiative and also a part of our empowerment. And I think that we have many good stories. I think we have many success stories that I can share with people, although many bad things are happening in Bangladesh, but we are moving forward, we are moving ahead, and this is why I'm a part of this initiative. Thank you. Could you hear
Okay.
me?
Yeah, speak. I think.
Is my mic working now?
Yes.
Yeah, it's
Yes.
working.
Okay, good. I
Yeah,
changed the
brilliant.
settings.
Thank you.
All right. Well, I am from the United States in the Midwest, and I'm studying in Switzerland right now and interning at the World YWCA in the communications department. So I'm not officially a part of the blog team, but I've written a couple of blogs that were on pretty early. And I really appreciate getting to see a lot of the international perspectives of different women through the blog, and being able to write about my own perspectives as well, even though a lot of the issues that we might be facing in the US are a little bit different than what other countries might be facing. Seeing those different blogs and how other people think is really important to the movement, I think.
Definitely. And I think what's really great is that even though Lillian, you're not a member of YWCA yet, you still have core values of the YWCA, and it's been great to have you engaged and have you writing here in the office. And I think it fits quite nicely in the terms of being inclusive of everyone around the world, regardless of actually being a member of the YWCA or not. We're still accepting of all people regardless. So I have some questions for our lovely bloggers, just to get us into a bit more of a in-depth discussion around, what does inclusiveness actually mean, and how do we build sustainable communities that are inclusive of all peoples. So, Divya, I have a question for you. The world, as we know, is always changing. So, what are the benefits of creating a more inclusive community, and what are some of the challenges that you can see within this, and how can we overcome those challenges? So, that's actually three questions in one, and I know it's a big question.
Yeah.
But I'd love to know what you think around creating an inclusive community, and, as you say, some of the challenges that you can see.
Well, the thing is, as you said, it is a big question. So there are a few parts to that. As far as benefits go, I think that policymakers, advocacy workers, academics, individuals, and other important social political actors have already realized that this one-size-fits-all solution doesn't really work because of the diversity that makes up our global community. So inclusivity provides, varied angles in which to view a problem, and subsequently allows for innovative, creative and diverse solutions to very complex issues that are representative, of the populations who face these social issues. And furthermore, inclusivity is central to addressing gender inequality and closing the gender gap. Actively including women and other marginalized groups who do form a majority of the world population is a big part of this solution. It's already become a fact that when you bring women out of poverty, you can bring an entire community out of poverty, right? So inclusivity, of women and other marginalized groups in economic, social, and political spaces is central to addressing these types of issues. But obviously, that is a simplified version of the benefits. There's so many more benefits that follow. And, with good things in life, there often comes hurdles to get to them. And I think that one of the biggest challenges we face is that, the sheer population of the world itself is huge. We live in a population with approximately 7 billion people, right? So how can we ensure that all marginalized groups are fairly represented globally and internationally? How do we define the parameters of what constitutes fair? And even more so, how do we define the parameters on inclusivity? Because people have different cultural, social, and religious views on this, right? So this is a debate that humans have been having since the beginning of formal and organized governance systems. And it's a particularly relevant discourse when it comes to decisions as well as discussions around inclusivity. And then we have to also address the issue of how do we support national governments to reshape and in some cases shift entire power structures and dynamics to accommodate inclusivity in their governance, right? Because when you have national policies that openly and systematically discriminate against women, homosexuals, transgenders, and other groups, we have to start thinking about what support the global community can give the individual as well as national governments, the support they need to remove or to restructure these policies without further endangering, or minimizing the backlash that marginalized groups already face within these communities. So those are pretty big challenges that we face when implementing inclusivity in global, national, and local policies. And I think that as far as overcoming challenges goes, well, I think that's what's so great about this blog. There are some people who are critical of online activism or desk activism or like whatever you want to call it, but online spaces provide a social and political forum for marginalized groups to openly speak their mind and communicate the way they live to the global community. And it provides a platform that may not otherwise be available to marginalized groups within their community. So I think that it's great that more social movements are establishing an online presence because it reaches so many people. Not everyone, but it gets to as many people as you possibly could get to. So of course, you have those bigger systemic challenges that I discussed. And with that comes these questions, how can the global community support the individual and support, national minority and marginalized groups who are working for fair representation? The answer seems like a very simple one, right? Ask these groups what we can do for them. But unfortunately, where I'm from, the indigenous population has voiced their concerns time and time again and have frequently been ignored. So inclusivity means that we need to address the unique needs of different populations. And obviously, this is easier said than done, but within the given time constraints, this is as concise an answer that I can give. So does anybody have any questions or comments they'd like to make on what I said?
I think it's really interesting what you're saying around inclusiveness in terms of like how do we reach and engage with the most marginalized community, and with the example of your own, the reality that you face in your own community, working with those marginalized groups. Um, and I think it's really important that we continue to push the boundaries and use different technologies and methods that we can find through, online activism. Um, Sometimes it can seem very stale. Sometimes, like progress can be very slow. But what I think is particularly interesting about social media is that, it knocks, it basically kicks down doors, because you don't have to reach someone and to get your opinion out there. It doesn't have to be approved or validated. You're free to write any information that you want online to mobilize people. And I think there is a great deal that we will continue to point from online activism and activism. So thank you very much for that. Kumi, I know you have some
Sorry,
great,
you have a bit of background noise. Can you just speak up a bit?
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you, Kumi, how can we reach out to more young women and girls in our communities? Do you have any ideas or experiences that you've been through in your community?
Well, for me in my community, the thing about online is that it's still not that, internet is still not that accessible to people, especially in the rural areas. So I think, especially, because Malawi and most of, Southern Africa is described as it's still developing, third world country. So access to this is usually seen as something that is not quite available. But I also do know that this is changing, and a lot of people, get excited when they see, some kind of progress happening, or when they're able to say, oh, I'm a part of something. So, if you have something like She Speaks, for instance, that you're saying, okay, this is for you to, make something out of it, make it a purposeful collaboration, then young women are more excited, because then they understand that they actually have power and they actually have a platform in which they can do something, instead of just sit there and being told what to do. Because a lot of youth in my community, a lot of young women are really people that have never been given a chance to do anything, firstly because they are young, and it's only the elders that have the power to do something, but also because they're women, so they're not really included in decision making processes. They're not really included in a lot of issues that have social relevance for them. So I think that just to be given a platform where you say, okay, here's something small, here's a blog site, you're part of this, and then they see a certain result from it, and then they grow in confidence and use it more, and encourage more people to be a part of it, because they have, even if it's just a small result, they can say, okay, I've spoken to somebody, from somewhere else in the world, and, they said this, which is similar to what I've said, and, it's that kind of motivation. It's the kind of motivation that really brings in, I think, more like young women to be more interested in actually being a part of something like this.
And I think that's really important as well, like you said in the beginning, that we remember that not everyone has access to the internet.
Exactly.
Sometimes those that do have access, you know, the quality of that access compared to others is not very good at all. So
Exactly.
like inclusiveness, how do we include people even though we're working online and they might not be online?
Mm-hmm. I think, well, firstly, there's different ways to be online. While everybody might not have the data or the internet speed to be on a Google Hangouts, they can still WhatsApp, for instance, because that I know is, I think, the most popular one in Malawi. Like everybody can WhatsApp, or they can even just, you know, they can have little groups, and then those groups can have perhaps one or two representatives that actually have access to internet and actually, you know, can send their message across, but also can bring, you know, other messages that are coming through, and, you know, just develop some kind of like, you know, those little support groups, and everybody sort of like feels like they have a stake in this. And you know, it's everything, all this cannot be done overnight. It would take some time, but I feel that as long as these young women just understand that there is one way or another in which they can get the message out, be it Facebook, be it Twitter, WhatsApp, even text message, to say, okay, I'll text message like this is a bunch of things that people want to do, and then somebody in their group who actually has a phone can actually send that out. Then they feel like they're a part of something and they feel included. And when these things come out into the, you know, into the larger world, and they feel like these messages are not only for themselves but are actually going out, you know, to other people, then I feel like they would be, you know, more motivated. Because I also believe that, you know, when somebody is really motivated to do something, they can really find ways to do it. So yes, it's tough, but it's not impossible, and that is the one thing that I've seen. It is not an impossible thing to do.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think that maybe I'm a total optimist, but I think that anything is possible.
Of course.
How many things are impossible and people want to try harder even more. And what I think is really great about this blog site and about the blog team is that for those who are watching who don't know exactly how we're working, each core blogger is responsible to ensure we get 2 blogs from the region or the country every month.
Mm.
So even if there's young women who want to tell their stories but they don't have internet access, through us we'll be able to arrange to ensure that their stories are told online.
Mm-hmm.
So it's another way that we ensure that we're being inclusive.
Mm.
Okay, I see that we've got 2 more people have joined us. I'm very happy about that. I think Mercy, are you there?
Yes.
Hi.
Hi,
Well,
everyone.
would you like to introduce yourself? Just say your name and your YWCA and maybe why you joined the blogging team.
First of all, sorry I came in late. So I'm in the office, was doing a bit of few things, and then I joined in. So my name is Mercy. I'm from
Is it fine?
YWCA Kenya. Hello, you can hear me?
Yeah, we can hear
Yeah,
you.
we can hear you.
Ah, good. So I'm from YWCA Kenya.
I
Why
can't get
would...
the signal right. Is it me or is it everyone as well?
Hello, sorry.
I think Maureen, are you speaking?
Yes, the connection is really cutting. Can you hear me?
We can, but you sound a bit like a robot.
The connection is really cutting me off, so I'll try to see if you can get anything. You can just tell me, okay?
Okay, if you can, we're also using the chat just to type messages. So if you prefer to
Mm.
type, then I can read what you say as well. Okay, so we'll go back to Mercy just to let you introduce yourself.
Okay, yes. Like I said, my name is Mercy. I'm from YWCA Kenya. So the interest
Can
for the
I
whole...
comment about what Kumias just said?
Hold on, I'm sorry. Can anybody understand what Maureen is saying? Because I can't
She said
understand.
she wanted to comment on what I just said.
Yeah.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, I think it's kind of also the same here in Kenya, that the internet accessibility has not reached so much in the rural areas. But then even in the social sites, most youth do not discuss maybe developmental issues. They just want to maybe discuss some of maybe um, not like the strong issues that are development related. So it's very important also as you've come up with this, like also you're talking about inclusiveness, we find also topics to discuss and invite the like-minded or the like-thinking youth and discuss with them and also like motivate them. In their various groups, they go and speak to the youth out there, because one of the most effective ways to get a message to the youth around here is through the youth groups, because most of them cannot like be online because of accessibility. So we're using that approach mostly with the youth groups we have and with the local leaders to pass the message that is required. You get that?
Sorry, can I just make a quick suggestion? If anybody is
Yes.
having trouble with their camera, because
Yes.
you know where I am as well, the internet is really bad. So if you just turn off your camera and try to use the audio, that might actually improve it. It uses quite a bit of bandwidth to project the video. So if you want to just try to turn off the camera and just use your audio, that might help a bit.
Now we've lost her. No, but from what I could make out from what she was saying, I think it's basically more or less what you were saying, Kumi, in agreement with how do we reach the most marginalized groups who do not have access to internet, and I think some good recommendations. So
The other thing that I think she said something about that what the youth actually do use with social media is to talk about things like entertainment or not socially relevant issues or politically relevant issues. But I think that has a lot to do with basically just not having the space or the belief that if they did talk about these things, things would change, or anybody is listening to them, or which I think will always go back to, this is why we are starting to do this now, to say, okay, this is the situation on the ground, but we need things to change. So young women, this is your space. You have a space now, sort of like speaking to their potential, like waking that potential up, making them sit down and really realize, what do I want? What do I need? What can I do? And now that I've been given a chance to actually speak about it and so then do about it, then things can actually progress. So I think that yes, in Kenya, and I would agree in Malawi as well, it seems that a lot of the young women are not necessarily thinking about this, but I think that's just because they've never really gotten the space to think about it, and nobody has ever actually challenged them to say, okay, you have a space now, what do you have to say about it? And surely, that sort of like, it builds a culture, it builds a certain culture, and it builds a certain attitude in them that they say, okay, now I want to do something and I have the space to do it, and it's right there at my fingertips. I don't have to go to parliament to do it. I don't have to do too many things. I just have to sit down and text a friend, or tweet something like, guys, I think female genital mutilation is wrong, and 5 million women are saying this, and things change, something like that.
Yeah, mobilization.
Exactly.
Strength in numbers and power of voice. So I am going to ask Mercy now to introduce herself, as we have to move along, and I really want to hear what she has to say. So Mercy, please take the floor.
Okay, thank you. And okay, I had been initially said my names. My name is Masi. I'm in the YWCA Kenya, and currently I'm in the office, but not YWCA. I work for a different company. But generally, for the She Speaks blog, it's something that got me so much interested, Because from where we are, the guys at the urban areas, it's easy for them to access internet, so it's easy for them to channel whatever grievances the young people who are at the rural areas are having and experiencing. And from the discussion I found you guys going on, for Kenya, the internet accessibility, it depends with the region you are. Because with the devolution system in Kenya, it's so easy for you to access internet if your rural area has an urban center close to it. I think what majorly we need young women who are champions to go and encourage the ones who are at the rural areas to be part of it and also speak out. Because maybe some may say, yes, we have the internet, but we don't know how to use it. And others may tell you, yes, I know how to write, but I don't know how to upload it on the internet for other people to see. So I think that's what we majorly need to push people to do in Kenya, and also maybe in Africa also, to push so that we have all access.
Thank you. Thanks for sharing that. So we've started the discussion, as you'll see, Mercy. We've gone through some different questions all around inclusiveness and how do we engage young women and girls.
Yes.
I have a question for you. I want to know how we can continue to work with young women and women's groups in our community to ensure the full diversity is actually represented in the key decision-making areas. So how do we ensure that young women and women have a say in the decisions that actually affect their lives, like decisions that are made at government level? How do we ensure that young women actually get to advise and comment on these decisions before they're implemented?
Okay, thank you. So what I think we can do is, number one is encourage young women to speak out. Our major problem, be in Africa, be in Europe, be in America, many young women are scared of speaking out. Many young women are scared of expressing themselves. You find, yes, they have an issue, but they can't even tell their own friends what they are going through. So the first thing I think we need is, for you to even get to that position of leadership, you need to be able, first of all, to speak out. Speak out your problems, even if you're sharing it with your parents, you're sharing it with your friends, that will nurture you now to get to the top. For now, when you get to that leadership position, the main problem I've seen now, like for us, we are in most of the young women in Kenya, in Nairobi. I'm part of the leadership in YWCA Kenya. The main problem is we are put there as statues. You're there to sit down and feel, and so that the policies are seen that they're happening, but your voice is not heard. Whatever you speak out, no one sees it as anything. So I think when you're there, you need to also speak out. We need to encourage our young women, even when they get those leadership positions, be it politically, be it be social, be it being even in the religion part. They need to speak out and express themselves. For the groups in the community and marginalized groups, we need to encourage them on, okay, let's say like in Africa, most of the problem is some of them don't have that education. They lack education for them to speak out themselves. They lack the exposure so that they are able now to actually speak. When we look at, I'll give an example like in Kenya, the young people who are in the political era right now, some of them can't express themselves even in parliament. They would go to parliament and they've been given an issue to raise, but how they raise it leaves a lot of questions to be asked. But by the end of the day, what I think we need to do also is encourage them and educate them further. These young women and young people and young mothers still need that encouragement. I think with the encouragement and some who've already learned and some who've already experienced and exposure, it will put us on top of the map, because we will write policies, we have too many documents on that. We will keep making noise, we have the blogs, we have Facebook, we have everything. But without that exposure and that encouragement and that education, we are heading nowhere, and we'll still have the same issues rising. The young women, we need them to speak, but nothing happens because we have not pushed them to where they need to be. We've not given them that chance and pushed them further and exposed them further to show us what they can do. Let them go stand out there. We actually concluded our elections recently, and I was so happy to see a young girl coming from the village to come and battle it against me. It was the fun I had the most because she actually stood up and spoke, and I was like, yes, now her she can get it easily. So I wish we have many more coming out. Some can come and say, it's Marcia, let's now battle it out, me and her. That is what we need to look for. Because for policies, they are great policies, we have great documents, but actualizing those documents and actually making these people be able to express themselves well, that is what we need. That's my thoughts.
Great, thank you so much. I couldn't agree with you more. I don't know if anyone else would like to comment on what Mercy's just said. I definitely see the role of mentoring and peer-to-peer support in terms of lifting each other up. It can really work change when you build these networks and support systems, and also to have young women feel encouraged and informed on the decisions that are taking place. So I definitely hear what you have to say there. Lillian, I'd like to ask you more around how can we ensure that girls, young and women are included in political. So we've sort of talked about at the government level how it's important for young women to actually be informed of policies that are being implemented at government level. And I was just wondering, Lillian, if you've got any and how we ensure it more so at the grassroots level.
You cut out a little bit throughout there, which is odd because we're sitting like really close to each other, but so I couldn't hear part of the question. But at the grassroots level, I think that it's really important to really push for those spaces to be made, because as Kumi mentioned earlier, a lot of young women just are totally like negated from the conversation, and I think this sort of comes from this just ingrained hierarchical structure in a lot of communities, because a lot of decisions are made by structures that have like men in power typically, and sorry, there in this case, like, it can be difficult to make spaces for young women when they haven't existed before, and that also makes it more difficult for women to get into like decision-making areas in upper level positions like higher government. So I think that the best way to do that is to include men in the process, because it's sort of difficult in a lot of those powerful spheres to make room without sort of like help from the inside, if that makes sense. And I think that also goes with inclusivity, because it works better if the people who are already in those structures are involved. However, it can also help if people in positions of power create spaces. Like if there are already older women who have like resources, the way the YWCA does, by creating platforms like this, to allow young women and girls to get involved at a grassroots level. And I think that helps the most with creating those spaces that will allow women to like make decisions, because social media can be very helpful in spreading the word and getting a message out, but when it comes down to actual policy, it can be really difficult without having some sort of space or a position of power to get your opinion across and actually put it out into a voting sphere. I was hearing a lot of feedback on that. Can everyone hear me?
Yeah, I heard you.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, we heard
Good.
you very loud and clear. I think it is really important that we do continue to create these spaces, and even online is becoming more and more a very effective space for young women. At the same time, it's becoming, a sort of a dangerous space as well in terms of the bullying and the trolling that does go on online. And I suppose it's again, how do we ensure that even these online spaces are safe? We know that a lot of um, women and girls are being targeted through social media. And it's just because this is so new and organic that we have to continue to think of new solutions to new problems. And I think you're totally right about just creating these safe spaces as well. Like, we're creating these spaces, but these spaces also have to be safe spaces, so that young women and girls do feel safe in those spaces, and it's something that they can have ownership over. Um, it also, Lillian, you talked a little bit about power structures, which I wanted to ask Maureen if you're still with us, and Barmy, maybe just to both share your reflections on this question around how do we challenge power structures that exclude girls and young women? Oh, there's a little bit of music. How do we challenge the power structures that exclude girls and young women in all our diversity? These are
Sorry,
big questions today. Barmy, are you still there?
can you say that? Can you ask that question again?
Yeah. How can we challenge the power structures that exclude girls, young women, and women in all our diversities?
Can
Hello,
can I
Maureen?
say yes? Yeah. I think the policy, the policymakers, they should have policies that favor the women and girls projects, and it should be sustainable, that women do not have to live on big guesswork. They have to live on the policies that are there and are always working. And I think in terms of working together, both women and men need to have the equal rights to the equal rights of matters development, so that should be always, the women should always be expected. Excuse me, a moment. Yeah, I'm saying that the women and men should always work together, so that they need like the equal rights for matters of development, so that it's not that the women are exploited.
Mm, okay, Miriam's just dropped out again. Um, I don't know if anyone could hear her very well. If anyone wants to just summarize a little bit.
I
Kumi, could you
couldn't
hear her
actually get
well?
anything.
I couldn't hear her.
Okay, we're gonna have to get Maureen to write us a blog, a new blog on some of these things that she's saying, so we can share. Um, and Barmy seems to have dropped as well, which is a shame. Um, but maybe someone else has some thoughts around how we can challenge the existing power structures that exclude young women and girls.
Well, I have, just going a little bit back to what Lillian was saying. I think that these grassroots movements are important as well. I think that local movements are really important. And the connection for me is this. Local organizations everywhere, they create spaces for marginalized, active social and political representation. And, they can connect individuals and entire groups in the community to national and global opportunities for representation. But unfortunately, the reality is this, and this is just really based on the context of my community in a remote region, is that not everyone with an opinion will always have the opportunity to represent themselves and, the issues that they face at home. So I think that local groups are important because they act as representation. They act as representation. Sorry. And at the same time, I think we need to create more opportunities for local groups to be represented at key global gatherings and not just for individual women or individual members of a marginalized community. I think it's equally as important to create opportunities and spaces for local grassroots groups to influence key decision making, because unfortunately it seems that key decision making forms are an inclusive club where you have big time organizations and executives and policymakers coming together to make decisions, and smaller organizations are often sort of left to take the back seat. And I believe that local organizations, because essentially in this field they are the frontline agencies, so they do know a lot of these issues very well. They work with them on the day-to-day. So I think that creating more spaces for local organizations to have these opportunities is very important as well.
Definitely. I definitely agree with that, and I think that maybe Mercy, you could share from a Kenyan perspective in terms of the power structures that exist within your society. How are you challenging these power structures, or how do you think they should be challenged to be more inclusive of young women and girls?
Okay, thank you. So how we challenge them is first, Kenya is diverse. We have like 47 tribes. So each tribe like has their own culture and beliefs. So number one, we start from there. The young women in their different cultures need to challenge, first of all, the people there. Because for Kenya, for us, for young women's voices, it's suppressed from down there before we actually now get to the political powers. So once we get now the young women and women in general speaking up and running away from some of these customs, because at times you'd find if my grandmother is giving us stories, she'll tell us during their time they're not allowed to speak when a man is around. You're not allowed to eat before the men. You give them food first, then come in later and eat. But now with that, it's changing, which we are very happy about. So women getting out of the chains of culture and now getting into politics, which is something we're proud of. With the county system, the women came out in large numbers and fought for the idea of us having women representative from each county. So the 47 counties have women representatives. Now where I come to battle out it with them is that once they get to that political power, they forget about the women who are behind them and who actually choose them. So once they get the money and they get the chance to speak out and air their own views, they forget that. So as much as we push for women to get there, once they get those, once you put a woman in a political structure of power, I would encourage them to first of all push the views of the other women. I'll tell them, yes, you've been given that opportunity, because then they handle money that is given by the government for women to start up small businesses. They get money for healthcare, so let them push also that for that healthcare. And the young girls also come out and speak it out. They organize different avenues whereby they can sit down with these women representatives and tell them, look here, yes, we elected you, yes, you're enjoying the much money you're getting from the government, but also do not forget about us. So currently there are counties that give women through their women representative that give women free maternal care, which is healthcare for women. The women get there's free education for the girls and also the boys, inclusive of everyone in the counties. So I think as part of it is you put a woman, even if it's a low position, but that position, that woman should speak it out wherever they are in that congregation. Sorry, wherever they're in that congregation. Secondly, there are different policies and their constitutions for different countries. So you need to find out what your constitution for your different country says and what it is provision for people. Because yes, as YWCA will come out with women's policies, but is it effective? Does it work hand in hand with the constitution for the different countries? So now, like for Kenya, the YWCA policy and the Kenyan constitution work hand in hand. So it comes back again to us, we the women. We need to challenge it now and say, yes, the constitution and the policy for YWCA provides this. There is the anti-FGM. There's the anti-FGM law where people are encouraged to stop FGM and any unlawful practices. It's still the working hand in hand and us ensuring that these policies are put together and are working. That is something that we need also to push. So yes, you're making sure that our policies and the constitutions of our different states are working together and hand in hand will help us achieve more than we have achieved now and will push us further and get us there. And putting women, strong women, in political powers and in powerful positions, that will help us a lot. So that's generally my thought from the Kenyan view.
Thanks, Mercy. That's really interesting as well, and I think it can be relevant for others as well to in similar societies. And also, I think there's something that people can take and reflect on, and sort of maybe apply it to their own perspectives. And so, thank you very much for sharing. Towards the end of our discussion, but I would like to invite everyone to anything that they want to around inclusiveness. The main question is, what is your vision for a more inclusive world? Maybe comment on what inclusiveness actually looks like, what it means for you. At the last World Council that happened just last year, 2015, there was a resolution that was passed around non-discrimination, and it basically speaks about not having any discrimination at all, regardless of a person's race, age, religion, faith, ethnicity, their nationality, their sexual orientation or their sexuality. So it's around really building a world that is accepting of everyone as they are, as long as they're not harming others. So from a World YWCA perspective, that by definition is sort of what inclusiveness looks like and what it means. And we really want to be a movement that is more inclusive. So to each of our panelists, I'd like you to just comment on what do you see when you say the word inclusive? What does that visually look like to you? And maybe Lillian, you can begin.
Yeah, well, something that has been on my mind a lot lately is LGBT inclusivity, specifically transgender inclusivity. It's a big issue in the US right now because Target, the department store, has announced that it will have like not gender neutral bathrooms, but it will allow people to go into the bathroom of the gender they identify with. And people are in like an absolute uproar about it. And for the fact that the US in the past like 50 years has made some really great strides in inclusivity, both with race and sexual orientation, transgender rights are just something that are completely lagging behind. and are often ignored. So I think that for a lot of places, that's like a hurdle that isn't even considered because there are so many other issues that need to be tackled first. But I think that LGBT inclusivity is it's probably going to be one of the last and most difficult issues that will need to be tackled on a national scale for me and a global scale overall. But I think the best way that I like to look at it is that feminism that isn't transgender inclusive isn't real feminism, because it's not including all women. And I think that needs to really, everyone needs to really bear that in mind, especially feminists, when we're considering inclusivity.
Thanks, Lillian. And yes, definitely. And I think it's what's great about the LGBTQI community at the moment at the global level is that there is more attention being paid to this particular community of people, and it really is a movement that is growing, and I believe will become stronger and stronger. So yeah, let's continue to advocate and to work together on this. Kumi, would you like to share your thoughts on inclusiveness?
Well, I mean, coming from now probably the opposite side of the world from America, our issues, our issues are really just, trying to get young women, to be able to actually say something, because for us, it's still the issue of, because you are young, you don't really have a space you don't even have a voice. And then because you're a woman, you don't have a voice, so it's like double, there's like, before you even get out of bed in the morning, you already, you don't really count in the grand scheme of things. And the expectation that, all that you're interested in is that you just want to find a husband and get married and have the kids, and then I don't know what comes after that. Maybe you die. So, for me to see, my idea of an inclusive community is a place where, it doesn't matter, whether you're a woman, you're a young woman, or you're a young man, or everybody has a space in which they can contribute to society. But not only just that they have the space to contribute, they have the opportunity. And I think somebody from Kenya was talking about education, because it's at that point now where, there are some people that even if you put them straight in front of the president, and the president said, "What do you want? I will make it happen for you," they would not even be able to think of what they could possibly do to make not only their lives but everybody else's lives, move forward. So for me, I think, if in terms of inclusivity, that's one part of a bigger problem, or of a bigger issue that needs to be done. Of course, that's also very important, but just to be able to have different sectors of the society, so that everybody knows that we are not replacing old people with young people. We're not replacing men with women. We're saying there's enough for everybody, and then teaching the people that have never had the chance to actually stand up and actually realize this is something that I want. And my world is not just what am I going to eat today. My world is bigger than that. Thinking about the future, thinking about, I don't know, all possibilities. Because sometimes I feel like, we come up and say, everybody, you can do whatever you want and you have all these possibilities. People don't even understand the first thing of what you're talking about, because they just, so it just goes, beyond. So, I don't, that's what I think.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
And Divya?
I actually want to build up a little bit about that, because that's actually extremely relevant to my community as well. So within the community that I'm in, sexual abuse is widespread from a very young age, well into your mid-30s, and then some into your 60s. It's a huge issue here, and it's been a huge issue since the formation of the territory in 1999. And the thing is, there aren't enough spaces in the community for one, young women here to know that, sexual abuse is not something they have to put up with. So in that scenario, education is super important in our community as well because women need to be aware of the alternative lifestyles that they can live and that they should be living, and then obviously it's unfortunate, but with sexual abuse comes addictions, issues with addiction. So alcohol and drug use is also huge in the community. And I think that when women know what their alternatives are, they're more able to speak up for themselves and they're more able to try and move forward. And I think the reason this is so relevant to inclusivity is that link between education and your ability to feel included. And even if it's not formal education, but just most women are unaware of what their rights are, just rights as human beings. So I think that what Kumi is saying is extremely important, and it's relevant in so many different communities, in so many different contexts.
It's so true. Does anyone else have any thoughts on this? Have we said it all? No, thank you so much for sharing, Divya. And it's well, I don't know the right words really to describe the tragicness, if that's even a word, of the sexual abuse that is happening in the community still, and how long it lasts and how long it goes on. And I imagine the stigma that is attached to that, and women actually coming forward to report what's happening. But I definitely believe in a brighter future where the world is more inclusive, and I don't think it will come easily. But as we continue to advocate, I think change will come. And I think it's just Mercy. You didn't. Did I ask you to comment? Yeah, just some closing remarks around what inclusiveness means to you.
I think Kumi and Divya said it all. As in, generally, for us, for Africa, we have too many troubles to deal with first because, yeah, we have taboos, we have traditions, we have rape. I mean, it gets to a point whereby you hear someone has been raped and you wonder, okay, which side of Africa has that person been raped? Because for us, it's like a song we've had continuously. And it reaches a point you now feel like just taking a gun and shooting the men on your way as you're heading home or as you're heading where your head is to. We have too many harmful practices. I mean, it's a collective drama. As in, if we were to write a soap opera about Africa, it would be the best drama, the best-selling drama. But at some point, where we've reached now is we've reached a point whereby women stand up for themselves and women speak out for themselves. Even if it means for us going for boxing classes, we'll go for those classes because we need to protect ourselves. There is where we are. And with inclusivement of sexual orientation, in Africa, I think we need to be given time. First of all, to swallow it in, because according to the beliefs and taboos, lesbians and gays are non-existent. As in, it's a discussion you don't place on the table. You place it at your own risk on the table. But with how things are going on, I'm seeing an Africa very soon that will accept people as they are and will actually allow them to take part in things. But yes, it will take time. This is Africa. We take time with everything, but we're getting there and we'll be inclusive. Fighting battles, it's our norm, and we are proud of fighting whatever battles women are going through. And we'll give whatever support women. They come to us and tell us, I need to get someone arrested, he's raped me. I'll be the first one to land in that police station and ensure that that person is arrested, because that is the battle that we are fighting for women in Africa. And also getting married at a young age, it's something that's happening, and it's something that we are fighting, because you get in the rural areas, you get someone getting married at 12 years of age, and that person is 12 years, has no clue who she is, and she's already pregnant. She has no clue what's happening in her body. Actually, she's in that age where she'll see the first period and scream out because she's wondering what's happening.
Reading.
Yes, so we're battling such issues, and getting married off to a very old man who's old enough to be your grandfather or even father at some point, and you wonder, okay, what happened here? So education, like we said, and like Kumi repeated, education is important, and with that education, women will be able to stand up and speak. Uh, you give out a space, but without mentoring that young woman and showing her what to speak and making them know their rights, even if it means taking a wooden stick and punishing them a bit, I don't know. You just come up with methods, but they need to discover their rights, and they need to accept that they have rights as women. Our rights as women does not end in the kitchen. And cooking, like Kumi was saying, you get married. In Africa, we live a very systematic life. You grow up, go to school, which is 50-50, depending on how your parents are well learned, get married, get kids, cook. Then I think now get ready to die or something of the sort, I'm not sure. So women need to get out of that cocoon that all your life you need to just cook for a man and become like a slave for a man. Women need to understand that they can have careers. Women need to understand that they can be breadwinners. They can wake up in the morning and go look for food and feed that one child. You don't have to stay in an abusive marriage. You don't have to stay in a forced marriage just because I'm a woman. That's not an answer. You need to wake up, sort yourself out, sort your family out, and move on with life. Once women get their rights in their heads and accept them, then we'll be having a very inclusive world, and even maybe our work will be so much easier than it is right now. So I think we need to encourage women and mentor as many women as we can.
There was actually one other thing I wanted to add to that. I think that as far as the global community goes, we also need to work towards dispelling myths about other communities, because I know, and this is these are just the realities of the world we live in, but I'm speaking to a group of very empowered women from all over the world who are working towards changing their communities. And, in some parts of especially in the developed world, there's this idea, and again, I don't want to offend anyone, but that, women in developing parts of the world, whether it be in, rural parts of India or rural parts of Africa, wherever it is, they're helpless and they need the help from a global community. But that's not the case here. There are plenty of active women within the communities fighting every day to do that. So I think these myths on the part of the global community need to be dispelled as well, right? And the same goes for like other parts of the developed world. People, have the misconception that if you're from Canada or if you're from the United States, we don't have development issues. But I would love for everyone to come to my community and see what life is like here. So we have to really, as a global community, dispel the myths that certain development issues and certain social issues only happen in certain parts of the world, and then these women are helpless, and then in the developed world everything's peachy. And I feel like these myths have to be dispelled on the part of the global community as well.
And I think actually that the She Speaks blog page, is one way of doing that, of actually sharing the realities faced by each of us in our different communities. Um, I think about the subject of female genital mutilation, and I'm from the United Kingdom, and it still happens in my country. And actually, the government have an action plan to end FGM within the UK. There's something around 25,000 girls every year that suffer FGM actually in the UK, is done in the UK. And some people think like I'm lying or it's a myth, but it's the truth. But it's this idea that everything's okay in the global north, but actually everything is not okay, and there's things that we have to work on too. And just like in the global south, people can be empowered and advocate, as we can see within our own movement. We have people here today on the call from different parts of the world, and we're all advocating and working towards a more inclusive and safe world for young women and girls.
Mm.
That actually brings us to the end of our Google Hangout. But thank you all for participating, and thank you for being the great bloggers that you are. It's live on YouTube, so it's been filmed, so you can actually go back and watch it again. You can also please check out the She Speaks blog site. So it's She Speaks World YWCA.org. And if you go to our Facebook or our Twitter account, you'll have all the information that you need. So again, I wish you a happy World YWCA Day for yesterday.
Thank you.
Goodbye for now, and see you online.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.